This is the video on the Star Wars extras as part of my Gen X collection. This is the third video in the Star Wars series, and I've already done one on the action figures. You've already seen the one for the big toys. This is the third and final on all the extras that will be going along with these items as part of the whole Star Wars lot that I'll be selling. So let's see what treasures we have buried in this collection. The first item is the stack of back cards from the figures. So when you'd buy a Star Wars figure back in the old days, you would get the back card and you'd have a little plastic case and you'd see the figure in there, and usually the weapon was taped to the inside of the plastic case. I did not keep them in boxes, obviously, but I kept the back cards for at least one. So if I bought 2 or 3 stormtroopers, I kept one of those at least. I don't think I have any duplicates. I think they're all just one that I would have kept. A lot of these you'll see have the little corner ripped out. That's because that's where the Kenner proof of purchase was, and I used those for getting other figures like Anakin and the Emperor were both items I got by sending in so many of those figures. Most of the cards you see are from Return of the Jedi. There are a handful of Empire Strikes Backs that you'll see in here. There are no Star Wars. However, some of them, I think the ones with the coin, and I don't know where the coins went. I had a handful of coins. I don't see them, so I guess they're lost in the attic in Iowa or something, but those actually say Star Wars Power of the Force on top, so they're a little bit different, a little bit unique. The other one that's kind of unique is Han Solo in the trench coat, and it's the only one I have where it shows Star Wars Return of the Jedi in multiple languages at the top. That's the only one, it says it on the back too, it's the only one that I've ever seen that has the multi-languages on it. But it was always kind of cool to see a view of the figure in the movie. They did a good job of putting those in there. And if you look at the prices just for reference, you can see that they're, $247, there's a $379, $379, $279. So most of these were between kind of $2 to $4. The other day I saw a Bib Fortuna in Target, and it was a little bit bigger of a character, the figure, I think, but the back was exactly the same. Maybe this title was different, but the back was still that same picture, and I think that was asking $15 for those, so there's no inflation. I do not have all of the cards from all the figures. These are the ones I bought, and again, I only kept one of each. If there were multiples, a lot of them did come from garage sales, so clearly I wouldn't have the back cards for those. And these are done right now in order of the back of them. So if you look at the back, where you have the list, each row is basically the order of each row across here. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what I do have. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 50. It looks like there's right at 50 different cards here in this pile. The next item, obviously I had for many years as well, is a Star Wars record tote. So in this, I kept the books and records that I sold recently through an auction, but I did keep the Star Wars ones to go with this, because basically everything Star Wars is what I was keeping here. So if we look inside, we have the Star Wars book and record, we have Droid World, we have Return of the Jedi, and I must have got 2 of those for Christmas that year because I have one that's brand new in the wrapper yet as well. So there's a handful of book and records. You got Chewie on the side. Oh, yes, Yoda is on the back, yes. Vader, and then you got 3PO and R2. The only real defect to note is that the handle did break and it's been glued, so you don't really want to lift it by the handle. Just making you aware of that repair that I did. The next item that I used a lot, and I don't know if I had a Jedi lunchbox or, usually you'd get these thermoses with the lunchbox, so I kind of assume I did, but as you recall, back in those days, they all rusted away, and all you were left with was the plastic thermos sometimes. So it's still got its lid in there. It's been washed, so it's still usable. And you've got Wicked on the front. This is the only one of these I've ever seen, or even of the series, but basically, instead of being the full-size toys, these were a miniature one, and they had the breakaway feature. So let's say you're flying along and you get shot, you push the button in the back and it breaks into multiple pieces. And then you simply put them back together and they all spring back where they need to be. Got landing gear on the front. So that's a little snow speeder in miniature format with exploding function. And how are you going to take notes without a Return of the Jedi pen? And it does not write anymore. I'm sure, like most of the Return of the Jedi pens, it's probably dry of ink from writing down all the girls' numbers we'd get carrying a Return of the Jedi pen, or not. But anyway, that's still here as well. I have a couple books. I have the Empire Strikes Back book, which is probably pretty common. And then I also have the Jedi Masters quiz book. So that one might be a little bit more unique. And I believe I joined some kind of a Star Wars fan club or something like that when I was young. So part of what they provided was this stack of 8x10 glossy. So these are original. They're not something I pulled off the web and printed. They are actually originals from that fan club. So this is one of the whole gang in Endor. That's Luke. Headshots here. You got Han, you got Wicket, you got Lando, and you have Leia. So that's a stack of pictures. I don't know if it says, just says all rights reserved, 1983 LFL. So that's that stack. If you recall from the action figures video, I did mention that I have a printout that I got online. I only had one missing one that I discussed in the action figures video. And I do have a whole bunch of various weapons yet as extras. So if Yoda loses a snake, actually you can lose 2 snakes and still have them. There are some extras here. So that's how I know that all the weapons are genuine and original with this, because I either got the weapon with the figure when I bought it, or the figures came from garage sales without weapons and I used the items that I got directly from Kenner back then for them. So I know all the weapons are original. No question there. Here's a few little booklets that came with the toys at the time. So when you'd buy a toy, you'd get a little booklet that had the collection of, like I said, there's the Ewok Village and some of the different toys within there, new figures, etc. So I had a couple of these with the Emperor's Guards on them. There's a couple of Jabba on the front. There's an Empire one with Luke and Yoda, and then an Empire one there as well. And it looks like that tore and was taped, but they've got, you know, it was like the old Darth Vader case for carrying the figures, and a few of them here. So kind of cool looking back, seeing what other toys were available at the time. And here is the Jawa Trader. So this was talking about different collectibles, timeline. They had, I think, models, posters, games perhaps. Any kind of Star Wars collectible items were in there. This was another, it's not the really 8x10 glossy, it was just kind of a Star Wars fan club, it says. So this was just something else that I had as well that was just a little printed flyer of some kind. And the last one is a pile of Bantha tracks. I believe the Banthas were the kind of woolly mammoth looking things with horns from Tatooine. And when I joined the Star Wars fan club, whatever it was, it says right there, Star Wars fan club, Bantha Tracks was the little newsletter that you would get about various things. So, you know, here's one on matte painting and Robert Watts. This actually has some Indiana Jones material in here, model making, and special effects. So just some kind of other neat memorabilia to have as part of the collection. And that wraps up the entire Star Wars collection that I have. You've now seen the figures, the big stuff, all the extras, and now all of this will be sold for one lot. I'm not gonna onesie twosie it. I'll probably put an ad on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or something. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me, but I'll be selling all this as part of kind of the house cleanup at this point. And online, so in the description below, you'll see where you can bid on it, if that's the case, if I don't have a buyer already. And you'll also see a link to the downloadable spreadsheet that has a list of everything I've gone through here and any defects or notes on that item as well. If you haven't done so, please use the Force to click the link below to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell for notifications, and let's live for today.